here's an example of the first interaction that I heard between them on my first day. "Where have you left the bottle opener?" demanded John. "How should I know?" snapped Linda. "You were the last one to use it," he thundered. "No, I wasn't. You had a drink after closing yesterday," she fumed. "Well, you must have moved it," he barked. "I swear I haven't touched it," she hissed. "Whatever, I've just found it," he grunted. "Every time," she ranted. So there are 8 here. It turns out there are lots of ways to show anger and annoyance. So to demand is to ask, but in an angry or insistent way. To snap is to say something in a quick or hurried way, normally with a negative attitude. So Linda said, "How should I know?" really quickly and nastily. We have to thunder, that's to say something very loudly and imposingly. To fume is to really show your anger whilst saying something. To bark, well, it comes from the sound a dog makes. They bark, and it's to say something like that, very loudly and maybe a bit aggressively. To hiss, this is a good one. This is when you're trying to hold in your anger. "I said I didn't do it." You maybe keep your mouth quite closed. To grunt, that's when you say something gruffly without much effort. Whatever, I found it. Similar to that, it's definitely a negative term. And then we have to rant, which is like to nag. You've done this and this, you haven't done this. It's to moan at someone. Okay, on to the next one. I have combined saying things in a bossy way and saying things quietly. The waitress Emily made it quite obvious that she didn't want me to be there. She made me do all of the rubbish jobs, so I was hardly able to leave the kitchen. It was quite ironic, as she had a terrible attitude and most of the customers hated her. But she insisted on doing all of the serving work. I had to stay in the kitchen. "To start today, you need to clean the toilet," she commanded. "Not a problem," I mumbled. "Then you can finish the washing up that I didn't do last night," she ordered. "Okie dokie," I muttered. "After that, you have to polish all of the knives in the cutlery drawer whilst I go and serve the customers," she dictated. "Shouldn't I learn how to serve the customers too?" I whispered. "I'm the only person qualified to talk to the customers," she insisted. So let's look at the bossy alternatives. We have to command, to order, to dictate. These are all alternatives for telling someone what to do. We also have to insist, and this is to really emphasize that you want someone to do something. And then we have the quiet alternatives. We have to mumble, and to mumble is to say something not so clearly, quietly and clearly, so that maybe the other person can't hear you so well. We also have to mutter, which is to say something kind of intending that the other person doesn't hear it. And we also have to whisper, which means to say things without using your voice. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the story. We have words that you can use to show that someone's sad, or words that you can use to show that you are comforting someone. During my break, I called my mum to vent to her about Emily. To vent is to let everything out, just let all of your emotions out. "Mum, I am having a terrible time," I cried. "Oh no, what's gone wrong?" she groaned. "Emily is making it obvious that she doesn't want me there," I bawled. "Oh, I can't stand that woman. She is so unprofessional," reassured my mother. "She is making my time here very unpleasant," I sobbed. "I'm sure the landlady will see her for who she is very soon," she consoled. "I don't think she will. She loves her," I whined. Okay, so let's look at the ones expressing sadness. We've got 3 that show that you are crying: to cry, to bawl, which means really crying, and to sob, which means that you're crying but you're sort of struggling to catch your breath. Then we have 2 that can be used for moaning. We have to groan. To groan is to make the sound. So if you groan a sentence, "Oh, I don't want to," she groaned, for example. And we also have to whine. To whine is to complain about something. So when I said that last sentence, "I don't think she will," I was whining. Then we have the last two, to comfort, to reassure, and to console. Both of these are used to show that someone is saying something to try and make another person feel better.